Welcome to Encore. Coming up on today's show. For the last 40 years, composer, performer and producer Jean-Michel Jarre has remained at the cutting edge of innovation in electronic music. His spectacular open-air concerts have broken records and set a new standard for sound, light and musical experiences. He's France's best-selling electro musician around the world, and he joins us today in the studio. Jean-Michel Jarre, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Hi.
Thank you for welcoming me.
Well, you've just released the album Oxygène 3 in a box set with the Oxygène 1 and 2 records. The first record was made 40 years ago now. Have you come full circle, or is this just another step in this ongoing journey?
I hope it's another step, but I had no idea about doing a sequel of Oxygène 1, but 2 years ago I was involved in a different project, Electronica, involving lots of collaborators and quite a big, ambitious production. And I wrote one track, and I thought that if I was doing Oxygène today, probably I will start with this. And then I kept that in the back of my mind, and I used the pretext probably of the anniversary this year to come back to a very minimalist approach of doing music, like I've done for the first one. I did the first one in 10 weeks, so I locked myself up in the studio last summer. In 10 weeks, I did in 6 weeks. Sorry, 6 weeks. I did the new one, and I must say that I love sequels in literature. I love sequels in movies. It doesn't really exist in music, and I thought it could be interesting to try to create a sequel and like in a series you take some actors and you put them in context of a different story. It's more or less what I've done with Oxygène 3 regarding the first one.
Well, let's take a look at that musical evolution. This is part 4 from the first Oxygène album, followed by part 17 from the most recent record. So that first record, Oxygène, was released in 1976 when electro wasn't the genre that we know today, and people were still listening to music on vinyls. That went on to sell 18 million records worldwide. At the time, did you think it was going to be a global pop success?
No, in those days, I mean, even the first one has been rejected by lots of record companies, saying there is no drummer, there is no singer, strange music, you have no tracks, all the tracks are 10 minutes or 8 minutes, no format for radio, and on top of it is French. So, but I think it was quite in phase also with the expectations of the people linked to certain idea of environment, also linked with space or science fiction also. And probably also the idea that I always considered that melody is the most important thing in music, and I was always, and still today, I mean, interested by trying to merge and to create a bridge between experimentation and pop and melodies.
Mm-hmm. Now, your music's associated with technology and digital innovation, but you actually started with a classical background. Was there one moment where you turned your back on classical music and turned towards machines?
Actually, I've been trained in the classical way, and also being involved in some rock bands. I was playing in some rock bands, and the student revolution happened, and we were basically rebelling against everything. And
in 1968,
and electronic music obviously was an ideal way to rebel against the establishment of classical music and the establishment of rock already.
Okay, so that's a rebellion all round. Now, there is a bit of a backlash from some musicians today who say that technology or digital music doesn't involve the hand of the artist, that there's no soul to it. What would you say to that?
I think it's it's a wrong attitude. I think the emotions or lack of emotions is not coming from the instrument or the interface you use. It's coming from yourself. So actually, whatever you use, a Stradivarius, some African instruments, some electric guitar or a computer, you can express by the end of the day the same kind of timeless human emotions. It's just a matter of evolution, a matter of generation. I think that technology is everywhere today. Electronic music is everywhere, has no boundaries anymore. And I think it's rather good news than bad. You know, all these negative attitudes, I mean, make me think about the Vatican in France of Gutenberg, when saying, oh, it's very, very dangerous that everybody could have the means to write a book, to read books, because we'll not have the monopoly of knowledge anymore. So I would say that it's rather good today that technology allows us to become maybe a filmmaker or TV presenter or musician in a much easier way than when I started.
Okay. Well, your music's not only broken records for selling records, it's also gathered astounding numbers of people for your concerts, awe-inspiring events that have become part of pop history. You were the first Western artist to be invited to China after the death of Mao. And in 1997, 3.5 million people were in Moscow for a show that broke all records for outdoor performances. And that was before playing to the stunning background of the pyramids at Giza for the millennium. Now, since the success of these mammoth concerts, electro music's often been associated with these large human gatherings. Why do you think it's important to do things on such a large scale?
I think I was not obsessed, absolutely, and I'm not obsessed by beating records or whatever, but I think that electronic music, in a sense, for me, has always been linked with soundscape, with outdoor, for different reasons, and I think that also I've been one of the first one to involve visuals, and for a very simple reason is actually, you know, these days we can listen to music everywhere, and in your car with headphones in the street. And if we go to a concert, it's because at one extent you are expecting a visual. You have a visual expectation from the artist you like, and I think also for electronic music, it has nothing to do with blues, jazz, rock, or American pop format. It's coming from our heritage, European heritage of classical music, this long instrumental piece. And I think that electronic music, and the way I see my music, is actually writing the soundtrack of the story or the film you can create by listening to my music. And this is what the reason why I think that also this community event, very quickly about that. I mean, we are also in days where we are in front of a screen of computers, smartphones, and we probably are quite isolated. And we need gathering, and we need experimenting or experiencing some events, whatever it is. It could be a sports event or concerts or festivals, because it's an opportunity to share the same emotions at the same time, shoulder to shoulder.
A sort of communion.
Yeah, that's right.
You mean. Well, today, electro is no longer a niche or experimental genre. In France, it's the staple of the music industry. We spoke to producer and DJ Agoria about getting a taste for it at a young age.
I was really listening a lot his track Oxygène in my room when I was a kid. Like, you know, I have a little stroboscope, and I was playing in loop the track non-stop, and my parents were becoming crazy. I think I was under 10 years old. The only thing I don't understand is still, that's my ego speaking now. He spoke and worked with a lot of my friends like René Gesaffelstein or many other electronic acts. It's time to work with me now.
So a fellow...
I love him. I love Agoria. And actually, we are from the same town, from Lyon.
I heard that. What do you think of this new generation and the evolution of techno music with them?
I think, you know, it's very strange, because I see really electronic music as a big family. I think electronic music today has a family, has a legacy, and has a future. And this is very special, because electronic music is not a genre in itself. It's just a different approach of composing music. Doing music with sounds, not only based on notes and based on solfeggio. But the fact that we can go out recording the sound of the wind, the sound of the street, and making music with noise. I'm from Lyon, and we everything is finishing by cooking. And you know, I see my work as cooking frequencies, cooking textures, and loops and beats in a rather organic way. I mean, electronic music by far is not at all something cold. It's exactly the reverse. It's something quite sensual and quite organic to do. I mean, and mixing these ingredients and flavors, a little bit like when you're in the kitchen.
Now, moving just very briefly from music to cinema, you've told us that Oliver Stone's recent film Snowden is a favourite of yours, about the NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden. Why did you enjoy that one?
Actually, because on my previous album, I did a piece of music with Edward Snowden. I admire this young man very, very, very much. And he made me think about my mom. My mom was a big figure in the French resistance. And she always raised me with two things. The fact that when she went into the resistance at the beginning of the Second World War in 1941, I mean, lots of people were considering resistance as troublemakers or as traitors. And she always told me that everything that, I mean, when the power in place is generating things that we can't would have negative for our community, some people has to resist and to stand up against it. And it's exactly what Edward Snowden did. He's been very courageous and risking his life for all of us, just to say to all of us, be careful, not saying stop to technology, but maybe stop to the abuse of technology.
Okay, well, Jean-Michel Jarre, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
We'll leave you with Jean-Michel Jarre's collaboration with Edward Snowden. This is Exit from the album Electronica 2. Remember to check out our website, and you can also keep up with Encore on social media. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
Saying that you don't care about the right to privacy because you have nothing to hide is no different than saying you don't care about freedom of speech because you have nothing to say. It's a deeply anti-social principle because rights are not just individual, they're collective. And what may not have value to you today may have value to an entire, population, an entire people, or an entire way of life tomorrow. And if you don't stand up for it, then who will? And if you don't stand up for it, then I will.